were you involved in the cover-up? I think there's some questions as to how deeply Nixon was involved in the actual break-in, but no question about how he would eventually be involved in the cover-up and other things. So I think the way in which a leader responds to criticism is a good way to understand who and what they are. Barry Goldwater, for example, he would acknowledge criticism. He would deal with it head on. I think he was a really good man, in my opinion, Barry Goldwater.
Did you ever meet him?
I never met him, but I met members of his family. And at one time, there were people in my community, the Jewish community, that were saying that Barry Goldwater was not good to the Jewish people, that he was somehow they implied, he was anti-Jewish or whatever. Nothing could be further from the truth. His best friend was a Jewish man that he grew up with, Harry Rosenzweig, who at one time was a leader in my own synagogue congregation. And he greatly admired Barry Goldwater as well. I think that what is so important is to not characterize people who don't agree with you as being somehow evil or terrible, but instead looking at what they have to say and considering it, and then taking it apart and explaining why you're opposed to it.
Yeah, so some younger influencers today on X would say you can't criticize Jews, for instance, okay? And you're going to be called anti-Semitic, you're going to be called this, you're going to be called that. And for many years, that was scary to have that, label, which today, younger kids, social media, they no longer fear that label that adults feared 10, 20, 30 years ago.
I think the most important thing that I have come to realize as a Jew is that if you disagree with the political policies of the state of Israel, that does not mean that you are anti-Jewish. That it is possible to disagree with the government of Israel and have political disagreements, but not be anti-Jewish.
At what point does one graduate to actually be an anti-Semitic?
When you begin to say, for example, that Jews are involved in a global conspiracy, they're linked to the Illuminati and whatever, and you go along with that kind of a narrative where you're characterizing an entire people negatively. You're not just disagreeing with the policies of the government of the state of Israel. And likewise, I find myself in an interesting position because there are many young Jewish people who greatly object to what is going on in Gaza. And I don't agree with them. I think that what Hamas has demonstrated, and they're very cult-like in their indoctrination process and their extreme leadership, what they demonstrated to the Israelis is no matter what we do, we really can't trust you. And because you attacked unprovoked, you murdered all these people, you took hostages, and at the same time, we were hoping that by you getting money for infrastructure and everything in Gaza, that we could somehow come to terms with you in a peaceful way. And Hamas struck out, and then the Israelis felt, well, we can't really trust you. And they took this action to be essentially a declaration of war against Israel, and they went after them. And there are many young people that are Jews that are on college campuses across the country and who feel very negatively about the way in which Israel has responded to Hamas and how the collateral damage, that is all of these Palestinian people who are completely innocent and had nothing to do with supporting that, and many of whom have themselves doubts about Hamas and grievances with Hamas, are suffering disproportionately. And so it's a very, and I think what you have to do in situations like that is not broadly characterize an entire people in a negative way, be it the Palestinians or be it the Jewish people. And you can't conclude that all Jewish people support the state of Israel, because many Jewish people don't support certain actions of the state of Israel.